sit down. You're out of order. Well, I don't think what I'm doing is wrong, so it must be all right. Because in my relative righteousness, interrupting you is okay. So if it's okay for me, it must be okay for me to interrupt you. So there is no... I mean, that sounds stupid, doesn't it? What I'm getting at is that there are clearly rights and there are clearly wrongs. There is clearly black and there is clearly right. Black and white. White. But in the midst of the black and white, like, how many of you know that the way is narrow into the kingdom? You can only get there through one door, and it's called Jesus. But once you get into the kingdom, it's broad. There's a lot of room inside the kingdom. There's only one way to get into the kingdom, but once you get in there, the road is wide and broad. You can't get there through Buddha, through Muhammad, through any other name. You can only get in there through one name. But you meet a whole bunch of people once you get in there. That's good. That's another good word right there. So Jesus said, I no longer call you slaves because the slave does not know what his master is doing, but I call you friends because everything that I've heard from the Father I make known to you. How many of you know everything that Jesus made known from the Father? How many of you know it all? Jesus said, everything that the Father's told me, I've made known to you. How many of you know everything? So do you think that maybe there's revelation that stands below the conscious level in you? Jesus said, everything that the Father has told me, everything the Father's made known to me, he said, not told me. Everything the Father's made known to me, I've made known to you. I just asked you if you know it all. But you're not conscious that you do, which means that much of the kingdom lies in a mystery inside of you. See, Jesus said, I went to prepare a place for you, right? He said, Thomas said, we don't know where you're going. He said, yeah, you know where I'm going. He said, I'm going to prepare a place for you. And in my father's house there are many rooms, or in my Father's world there are many mansions. How many know when Jesus went to the Father that he went to prepare a place for you? And in God's house there are many rooms. And I want to propose to you that you are the house of God. You are God's house. 1 Peter, what does he say? We're living stones being built up as what? A spiritual house. And who lives in our house? Are you guys all right, or am I like losing you completely? I want to propose to you that Jesus told Peter, he said, I'm giving you the keys. I've made known to you all the things that the Father made known to me, I've made known to you. And I just asked you, how many of you know everything that Jesus knows about the Father? And you didn't raise your hand, but Jesus said, I made known to you. How many of you know that much of the kingdom lies in mystery and that you need keys to get in the house you already own? I want to propose to you that your house has many rooms, but most of us come into the front room and think that we have all of the kingdom. And then somebody breaks out and does something like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example, but somebody breaks out and does something different, experiences another room in the kingdom. And let's say they experience another room in the kingdom and they go off, they get off, they start their own cult with it. You know what happens to everybody who abuses truth in the in the church, in the modern church? If they abuse the truth in the church and they are labeled heretics, everything the heretic believed becomes off limits to the church and the kingdom. And many doors get locked with the word heresy over the door that's wholly the kingdom. We lock ourselves out of the mysteries of God because somebody abused the kingdom. I don't know if you're getting this at all. Some of the most powerful revelation is hidden behind the door that says heresy. Am I saying there aren't heresies? Of course there are heresies. There are things that are locked behind doors that God locked. You understand that. I mean, I shouldn't even have to say that. But there are tons of revelatory expressions of God that are hidden behind the door heresy, because the person who received the revelation took it to the wrong place, or didn't have accountability, or all the things, that people go weird on. They create their own cult, and then the church goes, well, that can't be the kingdom, because look at how that affected the people. Listen, you could do that with marriage. Let's say the first person who ever married had a bad marriage. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If that happened in the church, none of the church would be married. And then you won't be here and it'd get really ugly. Anyway, are you following me? It's like we have this thing where we react instead of respond. We spend our life reacting to what someone else did, and then truth gets locked behind a door that the church will never go after again. I joke about it a lot, but it is true that the rainbow is over the throne in the book of Revelation. It says there's a rainbow over the throne. And it says that God stood on a sea, a crystal sea. It is true that God stands on a crystal sea with a rainbow over him. It is true that it says in Genesis chapter 1 that there will be, let me just read it to you so I get it exactly right. I've read it to you before, though. It says, and then God said, let there be light in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be listen to this, for signs, for seasons, for days, and for years. What was the first reason that God put the sun and the moon in the sky? For signs. What does Acts 2:17 say? In the last days I'll pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. What else said? And you need to be a voice.